Vernomatic Productions.
Are you ready?
Live from the Metal Mayhem Studios in Rochester, New York.
We are gold.
And heard around the world by metalheads just like you. This is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Heavy metal music.
Your weekly dose of metal music, interviews, album reviews, news, and more. Want to be part of the show? Send us a message through our website, metalmayhemroc.com, or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Search Metal Mayhem ROC, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast team.
It's getting nice and heavy.
Now, welcome our hosts, John the Vernomatic Verno, and direct from New Jersey, Metal Walt.
Taylor Swift sold out 3 nights at MetLife, but nothing could compare to what we went through last weekend at MetLife. So much, Renee, that if you see, I'm still in the stadium.
I noticed that. And
I'm still there.
Yeah, I can see it. I love that.
Well, actually, and that came right. John and I were at both nights on the floor in the snake pit. And, you know, I got a million pictures on the phone, but that was actually taken. At one point, I turned around and I said, I need a little backdrop for eventual use for the podcast. And look how nice it looks.
It looks awesome. It totally, it's fantastic. Really
or I could be in Montreal. I might be there early.
Yeah.
Well, the great thing about that photo is it doesn't come with the heat index.
Right.
That accompanied the actual live being there. So you get to enjoy the anyone who sees your background gets to enjoy the MetLife, stadium without sweating.
Exactly.
In it. My God, it was hot.
So you guys were both at the show?
Correct.
Both. Yeah.
Okay. Because I noticed on the second podcast, I think you were recording it about 3 hours before showtime. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you were after the sound check and, opening bands were rolling. That first night was better weather than the second, to be honest, because it never rained. And then the Sunday show was really hot.
Yeah.
They broke. The weather broke right before they went on second night, though, didn't you think? I thought it.
I thought so too. I felt a nice breeze, and I was comfortable by the time that Metallica took the stage.
Now, where were you guys for the shows? Were you in the snake pit?
Yes. So here's what I did. We have our different ways of doing Metallica shows. On Friday, I took great delight in just running around by myself and going from place to place, getting all different vantage points of the stage and everything. And then on Sunday, a friend of mine, I grew up in the New York area, and so a friend of mine who I went to college with, I went to college in New York City. A friend of mine who I went to college with came in for the show, and so it was her first Metallica show since Metallica played with Guns N' Roses, whenever that was. And so
91, I think it was 91 or 92.
Right.
Yeah.
92.
I was with her, and just watched the wonder in her eyes as she took in everything and stood on the floor. And then she finally nudged me, was like, okay, I think I want to go into the snake pit. And I'm like, all right. And so we went in, and she, just like everybody else, like a little, the school of fish who follow James around whenever he comes to that section of the stage, and everybody kind of goes, she was right there with it. And I just stood back and watched everything. It was fantastic. I preferred the Sunday night show to the Friday night show, but I love them both. It was fantastic.
Yeah, my routine is very different. I've been doing this with these guys a lot. I tend to go on and off tour quite a lot, as you both may or may not know. Yeah. So I pretty much I set up in and around the dressing room area. That's where I kind of operate out of. Catch my words here and there with people as need be, disperse myself from there. For the actual show, I always like to walk behind them as they go to the stage, because it's a fun thing to witness. I then get into between. I actually go in the barrier on the outside, between the outside of the stage and the first rail. Yeah, so where all the crew are, and everything. I kind of just constantly patrol that. I also take a lot of photos, so I'm constantly taking photos as well. It's just a really good place to gauge the vibe. once in a while I'll hop up and take a look from a greater perspective, especially at the beginning of a tour. So, you know, in Amsterdam, I made sure to go high so as you can see the overall map. But, you know, for what I do is So What as well, if I am going to write about the show, and I like to know what people are getting and feeling right there at that moment. And so, you know, the first night, turn around and there's just these giant beach balls flying everywhere, right? And so I got involved with a couple of the techs, and I got the security guys of trying to like just punch these things back into the 12-pound beach balls.
They were heavy. I guess I was gonna say they were heavy.
Yes.
So we were constantly like vaulting them back, right? We're pushing them back, and a mic stand came flying past me and ended up on the floor of the pit. So I'm like, I went to put it back up, and I was about to put it up, right? And I'm like, I don't think so. I put it down flat. It was chaos, but it was fantastic. I love the lack of control. That was really enjoyable, albeit a bit dangerous. And my God, I mean, I sweated out a whole t-shirt. I mean, there was 20 minutes of good, like, that was good cardio.
Well, those beach balls, there were a couple people John and I saw in the VIP room afterwards. Some guy actually deflated the ball and was walking through. I said, how the hell do you do that? And what are you going to do with it when you get it home?
Yeah,
wow.
I have no idea.
Put an extension on your house to blow up the ball?
I had someone looking at me. I'm trying to push it back over, and he's like, no, I'm going to take it and leave it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you gonna do with it?
Not happening.
Like, I'm gonna keep it. I'm like, how are you gonna deflate it? This is all happening, of course, with, you know, seek and destroy bellowing behind us, right? And finally, I just made the motion like this. Now, I don't know if he thought I was threatening him, but I was like, grab the fucking thing. It's the only way you're going to get the air out in time that we can actually not. It's because it was an obstruction.
Yes.
You know, coming across the. So there was a lot of fun stuff like that going on. And I love that. I love that. And I will tell you this, from that vantage point, I looked up and around very often. And for the first time on this tour, it really felt like I was in an arena. It did not feel like a stadium. It felt like an Animal House. And look, Jersey fans and the whole tri-state area, they're all fucking lunatics, right? So it was amazing. It felt like the late 80s. It kind of felt like a Justice Tour gig towards the latter half, I felt, of each night. But especially that first beach ball night, it was like, whoa, this is kind of like Justice era Madness. And everyone was just.
Well, that's because you're talking to a Jersey native that is still born and raised there. This is who we are, right? Steffan.
Am I right?
Yeah. And listen, I'm going to put my fuel moment in. Okay, I got a fuel moment in.
Oh,
a fuel moment, or
your fuel moment? You're for
you.
Sorry, he's participating. He's participating in our podcast.
It's not like it's not a big emotional crying story, but my story is
that's okay.
It's a 6 degrees of something.
Yep.
So I grew up in a little town about 20 minutes east of East Rutherford called Kearney, New Jersey. I graduated high school June of 1988.
Congratulations.
The next day was the Monsters of Rock gig at the Old Giant Stadium. So guess where I was?
Yeah.
I was there.
Right? There was a Friday show and a Saturday show. I was at the Saturday show. It was my first time seeing Metallica. I was 18 years old, and I bought the nosebleed seats behind the goes full circle. I've been to every Meadowlands, Giant Stadium, Nassau Coliseum, Madison Square Garden show in between. And then 2 weeks ago on our show, Metal Mayhem ROC, we reached out to the Bastardane guys and we interviewed those guys. We had Castor and his crew on our show, and they played at Jimmy's Bar and Grill in Kearney, New Jersey, about 2 blocks from my high school.
That's awesome.
So as Castor was unloading his drums from his truck that he drives the band around, and mind you, it wasn't a $1 billion Escalade. It was a regular old truck with a U-Haul. Right. I said, Castor, you're on Elm and Midland Ave. If you turn around and look about 4 blocks that way, you're going to hit my high school. And that's where I graduated in 1988. Awesome. So the whole thing went full circle.
That's awesome. And, you know, super cool with that band, actually. I mean, number one, you're absolutely right. They are driving around in you know, a basic beater, and they're sharing a bar of soap, you know, between them for a week at a time, which is all. That's how you should do it, right?
John, tell him about the story about Jacobius.
Well,
coming in the towel.
The quick one. So we connect on Zoom, and all of a sudden they appear, just like you do at the beginning of the Zoom. All 4 of them are in the view, and Jacobius, the singer, had just gotten out of the shower, and he's sitting on the corner of the couch in a towel. And
Right.
Metal Walt and I were like, hey, guys, take your time. If you need to pull yourself together, we'll give you a couple of minutes. They're like, F it.
That's all right.
The hell.
That's all right.
Yeah. But you know what's great? You know what's great about him? And if I was, and I saw the show on Saturday and at the Saturday night at the I think it was at the Gramercy. I can't even remember the venue we were in.
Yeah, Gramercy Theater. Yep, you're right.
Yeah. So one thing, I mean, I've watched them a few times now since they first started, right? So if I'm a kid and I'm watching that band and I'm looking at Jacoby, you know why I like him? Why I really like him is because I don't fucking trust him. You should never trust a frontman and a lead singer, right? That's kind of the nature of rock and roll, right? And he's kind of got it. He's
6'6". He sings up to the ceiling. He wears
looks
these weird
unstable.
red colos up there.
He's wrapping the mic. He's wrapping that mic cord around himself like he means some sort of weird business. And he kind of looks like Jim Morrison and Danzig had a baby. Which in itself is something to think about. Yeah. It's great. And then Castor is such a great counterweight behind him. It's like, I really like that band. And I got to say as well, I think that I saw Otto the same night, and, they are starting to wander into some really great musical spaces. They're starting to get into these weird jam pockets, which are but they're tremendous. And, both bands are really good, and they're a credit to themselves beyond their parents, and that's absolutely. I think a really important,
and that's what we were trying to
my conversations with
am I breaking up, guys? Am I freezing when I start speaking?
No,
you're breaking up a little bit, but now you're right now you're good.
Okay, well, and that's what we're trying to stress with the Bastardane interview. It's like the title of the slide when we promoted was Young Guns Paving Their Own Way.
Yeah,
we're trying to get up to the Gramercy show Saturday, but we're older guys. We were beat up after Friday.
How old are you?
I'm 56.
I'm 56. I'm not giving you that as an out.
Yeah, you're
full
not
speed or nothing.
Yeah,
get out there.
That's it. Full speed or nothing. I love it.
I'm 55, and my day starts at 7 a.m. and I was up till 3
You're
a.m.
getting
every
nothing.
night.
We're not giving you anything, John. You're not getting any sugar from us.
Walt offered me, he goes, listen, we could go into the city or we could go down to his beach shore house.
There you go.
So we went to the Jersey Shore. We went to Point Pleasant instead and got a nice, delicious fish dinner that night.
In fairness, that's probably a choice that maybe it was a choice we would have made, right, Renee? I don't know.
Right. If offered, there would have been a moment of pause deciding on which.
Well, that was the second full circle moment when Rob and Kurt came out on the first night and they did their little jam and they were talking about the surfing thing and how he caught some waves in Long Branch. I said, oh my God, the last time they were playing, they were surfing in Long Branch. And then John and I on a ride home, we're dissecting it. Well, when was the last show? I think it was May of whatever year that was. And well, it would be a little too cold to go to the ocean. But I'm like, they were down in Long Branch. That's 10 minutes away from my father's beach house where we were on Saturday.
Did you ever surf? Or did you ever do any water stuff, Renee? I mean, we were in your hood, right?
Yeah. So we
on.
went down, I grew up going to the Jersey Shore. Absolutely. We went to Wildwood, Seaside Heights.
Yep.
Point Pleasant.
Yep.
Point Pleasant. Yeah. And my cousins had a little place. I don't remember the town they were in, but so yeah, we did that. But I just didn't surf or anything like that. I was just a beach bum. I like going to the beach and playing in the water. But yeah, good times, fond memories of all of the Jersey Shore stuff.
Absolutely.
Before it was the Jersey Shore.
Sorry, guys, I've got a chance to ask. I've got a chance to ask Renee a couple of questions of my own here because we don't really get time. So, what was the first stadium gig you saw? In East Rutherford.
Me?
You. I never get the chance to ask.
Like music or sports.
Yeah, music.
We were
sports. Yeah, go on.
We were season ticket holders to the Cosmos, so we always went to watch Cosmo games and saw Pele play. It was pretty cool.
Pele and Canalia had the opposite ends of the of the
yeah.
arena. Remember?
Yeah, exactly.
The crowds used to cheer competing arenas. I used to go to those too.
Oh yeah, it was such a good time.
Didn't Franz Beckenbauer play for the Cosmos at that time?
Correct.
He did.
The
Correct.
Kaiser, right? He did.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Metal Wall, you and I are about the same age, so we were probably there at the same time.
Yeah,
so
I'm 53, so it was around the same time. Yep.
But probably my last show, I don't know what my first show is, Steph, at MetLife, or what it was called before, Giant Stadium. I really don't know. I think I saw Bowie there.
Great.
I don't have a memory like, it seems, I don't want to assign it a gender, but it seems like a very guy thing to remember stats and details like this. I just go through.
I remember the first time I remember the first time a woman ever said that. It was December 4th, 1987, that a woman said have photographic memories.
Hey, I have a Cosmo.
No, not really. It was a terrible joke. Thank you for entertaining it. 2 shows nightly.
I'm sorry, John, say that. John, say that again.
Story. I'm up here in Rochester, New York.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
And we'll get to that. But we were known as Soccer Town, USA. And when I was a kid, one of my uncles, the Cosmos, came up to play the Rochester Lancers. We saw Pele, Franz Beckenbauer, Chet Messi. And that stadium was sold out, and it was, I tell my kids now that are soccer fans, they follow the new wave of soccer.
Yeah.
In the day, Mike Stoyanovich, all those guys.
It was great. It was
really
great.
Yeah. Okay. Is this an appropriate moment, Renee, for me to say what I will probably be rolling out many more times about the fact that football, or soccer, as you've been referring to it, in my life lives with Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Mm-hmm.
Who I love dearly and have seen play live hundreds and hundreds of times. I will sneakily tell you that I have actually gone to a few games with band members. They've just got so tired of hearing me go on about it. I think they've just been like, okay, we'll check it out.
Dude,
and
when you went with the band members, did you just have regular everyday access, or did you have special access?
Well, the first time we went to, we rebuilt the stadium right next door to the old one. So we went to the old one, and we basically, this is way back now. I made sure there was somewhere at half time to go and get a cup of tea and get warm. So we had access to a lounge for that. But other than that, no, it was seats. We had seats and everything. It was great. Awesome. And everyone was like, are you going to bring security? It's like, you won't need security. Just wear a couple of beanies. They'll be fine, because 2 of the guys went. I won't name them just in case they don't, because it gets weird. Then people start saying, oh, they support this club. I don't want to put that on them.
Oh, wow.
They were coming to me. So anyway, so the best bit is they came with me and it was me and my mates and what we do, what we do regularly. And so I took them to there's a Turkish restaurant we used to go to on the high street before the games. They came, they had a Turkish, every so often people would look at them and be like, and they couldn't do the human math and we were already gone, right? So anyway, that was great. So we win 4-0. They get to hear some rude chants because we were sat near the away fans, the visiting fans for that night. So it's all fun and games, right? But the funniest bit about it is 2 days later, I didn't go with them on the next stage of the tour. They ended up in Stockholm, right? So 2 days later, I think it was Stockholm, that they said that they had to cancel a show anyway because James got food poisoning. So, of course, narcissistic me, I'm thinking, oh, no, it must have been the Turkish. Yeah. And someone's telling me, well, no, he got food poisoning because if it's a bad oyster. I went, oh, thank God. I was like, probably not the reaction I should have had, right? But
yeah, right.
Anyway,
right.
So
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah.
Steffan, maybe you should, go the Iron Maiden route and create your own soccer club and play the locals. Right,
well,
we've
actually done it. I run a supporters club out here called SF Spurs. We played the Bay Area Gooners many moons ago, and we beat them 8-1. Mm-hmm. I was player coach. We did it. Yeah. So no, we've done that, and I do a Spurs podcast. It's deep. This is deep stuff. So yeah. Anyway, it's deep stuff. Do you play?
I don't. No, I was a hockey guy, but not a football guy. But
hockey, which the guys love. I mean, the guys were really into. I remember going with them early doors to a Sharks game, like when they came back to San Jose. They were well into it. I know that. So.
Here's a small bone to pick I had, being, the super detail guy I am. I noticed on the towers the other night when the bands were coming out, and they had all of the local pictures from back then, right? Mm-hmm. The old Giant Stadium were up on the towers. And then I noticed actually a picture of Nassau Coliseum, which is in Long Island, because the hockey team I follow are the New York Islanders. So I said, I don't know. Somebody didn't do the research here that the Nassau Coliseum is actually in New York and not in New Jersey.
So what I will have to tell you is that there is always going to be a visual Easter egg at every show for the fanatic like your good self to spot. So as you can then send it in and tell us. So I will actually say that our team are so brilliant that they have planted that. So someone might notice.
Yeah. And I took a picture of it on my phone and I sent it to my Islander friends to say, I call bullshit on Metallica. They didn't do their homework.
Well, but they did. They're just waiting to see if anyone actually spied. It's good.
Yeah.
This is how they. Yeah. You may or may not believe me. I may or may not.
Well, I want this on episode 10. I want this on episode 10. I want this called out, Steffan.
Renee, let's make a note. Episode 10. We call out that Metal Wall was the winner of that week's Easter egg. Perfect. Have you spotted our mistake?
Yeah,
our intentional mistake, which may or may not be true. Am I bullshitting right now, Renee, or what do you?
Yeah, I think you're bullshitting. I think that the correct answer here is, the band was visiting the New York, New Jersey area. So why wouldn't they celebrate and show some images of past visits to the area? It's not like they were able to do a New Jersey and a New York show. Yeah. This time around. So
open up your arms. Welcome your tri-state neighbors.
That's right. As long as it's not Madison Square Garden, because that's where our hated Rangers play.
Amused to know that I have had to put up for many, many years with Lars. He always likes to tease me about Spurs. Yeah. So when they named the full Arsenal tour in 2012, Arsenal are Spurs' biggest rivals. You can only imagine. The slights that I got there. We only named this tour because of you. They nearly played the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium twice now, and he said, "Well, the reason we didn't is I just couldn't bear to see you so happy."
Ow.
No, I love it. He's like a brother. I love him to death. But without that dry sense of humor, it would be such a loss. He's very, very funny and super, super sharp. Tell him your story, which I
mine.
Love. Just recently, you had.
Yeah, I had a funny. It was a great Lars interaction. I've been with the Vans Foundation since 2019. But as you know, 2019, when I came on, they were finishing up their tour, and then the pandemic hit. So I didn't have a whole lot of interaction with band members. And so the few times I did, I introduced myself. I'm like, hey, I'm Renee with your foundation. Da, 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 da. So on Friday, was it Friday? Yeah, Friday after the show, I saw Lars and I was like, oh, Lars, I just wanted to say, hey, I'm Renee from your foundation. And I actually stopped and told him I have the best job in the organization because I get to see firsthand how Metallica is helping the communities in need that they have been wanting to support. And I have I get firsthand thank you notes from people whose lives were changing. So I was telling him all this, and then and I talked about the podcast a little bit, and then he just stopped and he said, Renee, would you do me one favor? I was like, sure. And he's like, would you don't introduce yourself to me again? So I was like, yeah, you too. You don't introduce yourself to me again either, because he often goes, I'm Lars, drummer, Metallica. So then day 2, Sunday, I'm in the belly of the beast, doing what I need to do, going where I need to go. And Lars beelines it for me. And he's like, Lars Ulrich, drummer, Metallica. And I was like, I fucking told you never to do that again. So yeah, Lars has a great sense of humor, and he's sharp and fun. Everything Steph has said, and Steph obviously has had a lot more opportunity to hang with that guy. So hopefully I will too.
Yeah, the poor bastards had to put up with me for the better part of 39 years. I'm serious. I mean, right. I first met them in 1984. So, but by the way, I think I probably have never had the chance to say this to you, Renee. So you guys get to hear me say this. I think that's probably why we work so well together on this show, is because we're coming we're coming from two different places with the same love and the same intention. So it's really interesting. And sometimes I find myself like, you know, like we had a chat about how you watched the shows this weekend. It's kind of cool. Yet we recorded in the same room, which we got to.
Yes.
So it's a really interesting perspective. And poor old Renee gets to hear me waffle on sometimes, you know. Oh, back in, you know, when you mentioned Guns N' Roses, I'm like, oh my God, back in the Guns N' Roses tour. It's like, oh, stop. So it's a good balance. It's a great balance.
Maybe that was like the longest introduction ever for the show, but maybe we need to actually say, let's talk about you guys. Like, who are you? What's your history with the band? And how did you guys marry up for the brand new Metallica Report podcast? What's the background here?
Do you want my, can I give my version first?
Absolutely.
So, like I said, I've been with the band since 2019. My primary focus, everything I do, my day in, day out job is the foundation. I'm the sole employee. I should say, how do we say it? I'm the sole employee of the foundation, but I have the backing and the power of the Metallica team as needed. But we do this in this way so that the foundation dollars, the band pays my salary, and 100% of any donations that come into the foundation go back out to our nonprofit partners. So we're working with the 43 community colleges that we fund around the United States. We've got critical local services where we jump in where disasters strike. And then, of course, the piece of the puzzle that has been with the band for a long time, which is food insecurity and helping fight hunger. So that is my day job. That is my world. And when I came on, my world previous to this is in radio. So when I came on to join the team, I have this background in radio and music and everything. And when I met Steph, we immediately clicked. I mean, we met the first, I think it was our first, was it a Christmas party or something? We went to a dinner and Steph invited me to his table, and we just, as people, we jived very, very quickly. And I love Steph's work as a journalist. So from my perspective, I think it was just a no-brainer. You have Steph, who has been writing for the band for years, and then you have me with this radio background. If we're going to do a podcast, we're the people to host it, and then let's build that thing out from where it begins to include the fans and the band members and the crew members and all the various many pieces that make Metallica tick. So that's how I see it. Steph, you want to explain?
I mean, my history. Is that what you're asking? Like how I know these guys?
Your history with the band, and yeah.
Well, it starts in 1984, and it starts with doing the first piece in a music paper, Sounds, which was a UK music paper. I was the first ever piece I did on them. It was the first major piece they'd had in England. I mean, Kerrang had covered them, but Kerrang's a specialist mag, so I was pretty proud of that. You know, and then I don't know, I kept on doing stories. I was one of those teenage journalists who bullshitted their way in, right? Which doesn't happen anymore. So it kind of culminated with, and I'll give you the short version. I ended up moving to the Bay Area in '86. You know, and Cliff Burton had very kindly said he would introduce me to a few people when I moved, and he did. There we go.
Yep.
Okay. It didn't necessarily, it wasn't for Metallica, it was for myself. But, you know, he was very kind and offered to, you know, so he introduced me to a bunch of people. Obviously, he did not come back from the tour that he left to go on, which is very, obviously, you know, really tragic. But I just got pretty tight with them. And so I ended up covering them an awful lot for Kerrang at that point. You know, I became the person who like would go out on tour with them. We hung out a lot. We just became tight. And then they formed So What magazine in the 90s. And so I basically ended up freelancing for that for several years, like basically doing all the editorial. Tony Smith, a great man, was running the mag, and he was like, he'd get me out there all the time. And then I ended up doing So What regularly on salary from 1999. And so it's been a long relationship. And, you know, my thing is always to try and bring people, you know, inside and close to the band. Not necessarily, I'm not a stat guy. That's not I'm not the guy who can actually tell you the set list in Peoria in 1992. You know what I mean? I can't do that. But what I can do, I think, is help fans understand the spirit and emotion behind them through their career. And I think if you look at the pieces we've done, that resonates. And I think that that's very true. You can see where they were at when they made Load, or, you know, the Black Album, or Justice, or, you know, even right now, 72 Seasons. So that's kind of my history with them. And the podcast, the podcast is a team effort, right? So everyone is in on it. You know, this is not just a village, it's a small nation in a way. It kind of is. And we're all in it together, and we're all in it to try and find the best voices and messages and just entertainment that we can in a 10, 15 minute podcast weekly. And that's the mission. And that's what I hope we're going to be able to do. We'll bring it inside, bring it outside, you know, and the fans are going to help drive this, right? Yeah. We need them to keep coming to us, as they very, very, you know, excitedly have been these first couple of weeks. We need them to keep coming. You know, your story, right, that you just told us, that's the sort of story we like to hear.
Yep.
We want more of them, because this is very much, we've talked about this. Renee and I talk about this a lot, and we talk about it with Christian, our wonderful producer, you know, and Michael, our wonderful engineer. This is the moment where I feel like I want to credit everyone, but there is a team. These guys are great. It's a great team. Jerry, great guys. But we talk about this. This band has a following and a family and a kinship like the Grateful Dead. And as you know, the band are part of that. But there's whole other adventures and stories and tales, and you know, we're at the beginning of this adventure and journey with the podcast, and we want people to tell those stories. And every so often, we bring them some from the band as well. That's how I think it should be working, and I think you'll see that it will.
You know, I want to share a little bit. I mentioned I'm from up here in Rochester, New York. Well,
you know, by the way, you say it like we don't know, and it's my wife grew up in Rochester, so I've actually been. I know Rochester. It's all good.
well, good, because you know, we have our roots, and as a 14-year-old, I was there when they were doing Kill 'Em All, and I've been on this journey for 40 plus years. And the other night when Metal Walt and I were in that friends and family lounge, we're part of the family, and we were talking with everyone from Nikki Zazula to Jim Ridley that grew up hurt, to the militia guys. And it's just
Ricky.
It's just fantastic. It's something that it's communal. It was, I have seen Metallica since, you know, the Ride Master Tour. Haven't missed them since. Been to 16 different states. God knows how many different stadiums, and it still just amazes me. So when, as a media guy and a podcast guy, and when you guys start doing this, and I'm a proud member, Metal Mayhem ROC, of the Pantheon Music Group. Well, you know, we're all on the same team. When Christian shared the information, and when I heard that first episode, I was just delighted. One, I'm jealous because you're able to get in and out in 15 minutes.
It took a while to get there. Don't you worry.
It's impressive.
Let me tell you, this is where the team comes into play.
Right.
Well, as a host, producer, engineer, I do it all, and I'm always telling my guys, 30 to 40. Let's get in, let's get out. And well, today blew that out of the spot. But to summarize, I'm really looking forward to what you guys are doing, and interaction.
Thank you.
That's what it's all about.
I mean, I think we're really looking forward to the journey. This is the very, very beginning of the journey. And I remember when I first took on So What in 1999, it had been out for a few years, but it felt like, wow, you know, we're going to go on a whole other ride here. And as we have, it expanded. It went to places that I don't think people thought it could go. And I think, am I right? I mean, I'm right in saying this, aren't I, Renee? We're both looking forward to doing that here. This is the beginning. It's going to get, you know, this is going to get greater, sharper, maybe a little weirder sometimes, maybe a little less weird. It's going to go all over the place, and that's going to be we're going to give you 15 minutes that you can never fully predict, but that you can always rely on. Right?
That's right.
That's kind of the aim.
Yep, that's right.
Well, and I can only imagine too, as you go through the 70 seasons global tour over the next year and a half. Maybe there'll be some downtime, but then that's where you can go back and you revisit the past, right? And you bring up, you could have a 15-minute podcast daily for 10 years to capture everything, right? The tales. Here I am. I'm telling you every little detail of
it's freaking out.
New Jersey. But can you imagine what it would be like in, Tokyo or London or, you name it, right?
Yeah, we've got, there's tons of stories for people to tell. But look, as a fan myself, having grown up in the mean streets of Kingston upon Thames and Surbiton in the UK, having experienced the No Life Till Leather demo through the metal community, look, the first free album I ever got sent as a cub journalist, right, was Kill 'Em All. That was the first one I ever got sent for free.
That's great.
And I was like 15. I just and I was stumbling back from a festival where I'd seen Motorhead and drunk so much vodka on the ferry home, I'd ended up coating myself with my own alcohol and food. But I remember putting that album on despite my stupor, and it was like, wow, this fucking demo tape that I heard has come to life. And the journey I've had with this band has been huge. First piece I did was off the Ride the Lightning record. So I'm right in there with you. And the biggest fan of Metallica is essentially our boss, isn't he, Renee? The person that you asked not to introduce himself to you.
That's right.
Nice.
Yep.
He's the biggest fan of all. So how can this possibly not work?
Exactly.
We're all involved. So yeah, we want those stories. We've got them. I certainly know people out there have them.
Let me ask you a question. Is the magazine still active?
It is online. It's not a published piece, but if you go online, you'll see it. As a matter of fact, I will tell you, and I'll toot the horn a little bit here. I think if you want to get an insight into James and work on 72 seasons, I did a very detailed interview with him and detailed discussion, which I think is well worth reading. So yeah, we're online. Print went, but online lives.
Of course.
Yeah.
I want to share my fuel story.
Excellent.
As an 18-year-old radio and TV broadcast student in high school, we had a weekend heavy metal show. And back in 85, 86, Steffan, you remember we subscribed to CMJ. We were the pulse of underground metal.
That's what, yeah.
And just like we do today, we swing for the fences. I contacted Elektra in New York, requested an interview, and they came to Rochester for the Ozzy tour. And was granted the interview. Interviewed Lars and Kirk, met the band. Lars back then was not much difference between Lars in 1986 and Lars the other night. After the interview, Kirk turns to me, says, "Hey, you got a car here?" We did. We drove him to the House of Guitars, Nicky's News, and he was, right to the comic book stores where he was going to 3 years earlier when they were recording Kill 'Em All. But back then he was corresponding with this owner of the records or the comic book store, and they were friends, and he did his thing. We went to the house. James and Cliff were there, dropped them off at the backstage for the sound check, and the rest is history. But that's brilliant. When the journey started back then, and how we got involved with them now was a chance letter to Mark Ryder chronicling everything we've done with Metal Mayhem ROC about the 40-year anniversary. He loved what we were doing, got us involved with Adam Dubin for the archive. Adam and his crew came up in June, interviewed us.
Amazing.
We're working with Justin on a interview after this tour to get all the guys from the Kill 'Em All, the engineer, Andrew Robleski, the guy that hit Bass Solo Take One, guys that were credited on the back of the album that drove him around and befriended him, Bob Nice Lungs Thomas and Jimmy Ferraro. And all these people have all these pictures never seen before. So it's amazing.
So I mean, and look, to go back to what you're saying there and what we've been all saying, I think, about this band's number one fan. I mean, that's a testimony to him as well, because he is just as interested in, making sure those stories are heard and known and seen and documented. I mean, that project you're talking about, Lars is a major driver of that, because he knows how important it is to document history, and it is history, and he hugely appreciates that. And that's one of the things you can never quite get across about Lars to people. There's all sorts of opinions about Lars, and I have to stop myself from jumping off my seat every 5 minutes to defend him, because it really pisses me off. I hear some really ignorant shit with regards to him, and it really fucking annoys me. And I don't mind telling you both that. It pisses me off. I get defensive because I know that it's not like that. And he, in spirit and in heart and in soul, is the same guy, the same fucking guy. And I can tell you that because I know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And I've seen him regularly. So it's not like I just get a dip in here and there. And I wish more people knew that. Maybe they will. Maybe we can start to make sure they do.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let me ask you, how do they top the 72 seasons, stage production, interaction? What's next? Because years ago, I sat in the Snake Pit on the Black Album tour, and back then it was groundbreaking.
Right.
Right.
I have an idea. They can go to Antarctica. Oh, they already did that. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You just know that they will, because they have never disappointed yet, right? So it just keeps going. And like Lars has said a million times, we're just getting started. So brace yourself.
I know.
Paul and I were joking that we're going through Metallica hangover after this weekend.
Yeah.
We both agree that talking with you today is like our hair of the dog to get us back to reality, our little Metallica fix, if you will. And
so I got to. I have to ask.
I love that.
Yeah, I want to ask you both. What song? Like, I given that we like all the songs, right? I mean, that's a given. But what song over this weekend really, like, it just fucking was like, bang! I fucking love to hear that. Which one?
I personally love the opening tracks on both nights. And it wasn't the song itself per se, but I don't know, man, just something about Creeping Death and then Whiplash. It's just like, it set the whole tone. Mm-hmm. It was just like, I just wanted to be like, fucking all right, yeah, just like walk like a Whiplash, and and then here was another one. My one son's friend was over the other day, and they're 15, and he went with his dad to the shows. And he's kind of a new Metallica fan, and he said, "Oh, my dad and we just love our favorite song." I've seen that. We've all seen that song a million times played. Okay, take it or leave it because we know it. But what I love about one every time was down in that pit, felt like a real helicopter was coming down, man. And the sounds and the bombs and I'm just like, I didn't care about the song. I was like, oh my God, the fucking effects before one. It was just great. So that was my two things. And I like the Deep Purple Burn teaser that they threw in there that maybe nobody else caught. Kirk doing it. And then James across the other side says, no. Wrong Burn song, wrong Burn. Which is Steffan, if I ever got a chance to meet Lars, I would probably say, I don't want to talk about Metallica. I want to talk about my other favorite band, Deep Purple. Like, do you ever sound check Tommy Bolin era Deep Purple? Like, that would be my in with him.
Wow, that's pretty funny.
Well, my favorite,
John, your songs?
My songs. First, The Day That Never Comes. Absolutely love Death Magnetic, and I'm not going to tell you why that song, because when Death Magnetic, before it came out, that was the first song that came out. That was the first single. And I remember I was working that night, and I had that on a loop for like 8 hours. I actually listened to it. So love Day That Never Comes. I appreciate it and look forward to the new 72 season songs, and especially night 2 with, or was it night 1? Which one did they debut? Oh, Too Far Gone. When they debuted.
Oh, I'm glad you brought up Too Far Gone. It sounded so good. That was the second night. Yeah. It sounded so good to me, and I was like, oh, might be now my new favorite song on the record. I loved it live.
And that's how it is with the new album. It's like, what song do you like the best today? Well, it's it's been in the disc player. Yes, I still have a disc player in my truck, and like way you can listen to it. So
I also like a Call on the second night, and I don't know. I was telling John this. I don't know. Maybe because we were so close to James, as James walked out away from the song after Call was done, he kind of went like this, and he just said something like, "Love you, Cliff. Miss you, Cliff. Forever, Cliff." And I maybe I'm just like, maybe it was me, but I felt like unless you were really down there close, you may not have picked up on it. And that one just like touched my heart.
Yeah. That would. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love 72 Seasons as a live track. I think it's great. I think it's so good. I mean, I love to hear James yell "Temptation." I love that. But I got to tell you that the way they've been playing Whiplash recently, Lars is holding it in the pocket. It's not going too fast. It's not too slow. It's almost got a chug to it. It just brings the hairs up. It's one of my. It's an old banger, right? It's an old favorite. Yeah. That.
Absolutely.
And whenever they throw Battery Down, I mean, those bangers. But then you start, and then we're starting to talk about it. I mean, you talk about Cool, huge. I mean, Orion is also just massive, and look, the job that Rob, for me, I mean, the job, again, this is something I can speak to directly. I mean, you can as well, obviously, as people who have seen these shows. And saw the shows and saw Cliff play with them. But I can tell you that, Rob and the work he puts in to not just interpret and play the songs, but the spirit of the songs, and to be the river between Lars and James in playing those songs, and Kirk, obviously, in playing those songs is just huge. I mean, such accommodation of Cliff's work in those tunes as well. And Rob is such a student and so faithful and such a fan as well. I think he just does a brilliant job. I mean, and that never ceases to kind of blow my mind. Every time I see him, I'm like, fuck, that guy is just nailing it again.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
We made friends with the Metallica Friends and Family manager. I don't know if you know her, Melissa McLeod. And she said they were doing two things at the show that they didn't do in Europe. And looking back, I'm trying to figure out, did they drop balloons in Europe? And no. And did Rob do that bit where he surfed across the crowd on top of the travel case in Europe?
So he did stand on a travel case in Europe, but I think the travel case has taken on a new life, as you've seen. So that certainly was not as fulfilled as maybe it is now. And 12-pound beach balls in Europe, it did not happen.
Wow.
Jersey was the first to experience that. And probably the right fans to do so as well, because they were fucking all in. That was fun. That was so much fun to look back at these lunatics, like, fucking boom, fucking great. It's like, they were enjoying getting assaulted by these balls. It was great.
Yeah,
I thought it hit better for the second night with Whiskey in a Jar, because when they did,
I can tell you, but I can tell you right before I knew the balls were going to fall, I stepped out from the pit that night and watched that bit from the floor, because I'm like, one night of like heavy working out, punching these things is more than enough.
Yeah.
I like the first night drop because absolutely nobody, including the band, including the crew. And look, I know this is a cliche, but I've got to step out and say it because it's fucking true. That crew is fucking amazing. Just look at the rigging on that show alone. Chad Kohler and his rigging team. Amazing. I mean, just incredible. And we will be talking to them in the course of this pod over the next year. Don't worry. But anyway, they all got caught sideways by that. And so I love that.
Well, there was all,
I'm sure that the production people don't John Mulder. I'm sure they're like, I didn't love being caught sideways by quite how it happened, but I liked it as
well. It was a little wet on the floor too. I noticed both nights, and it's just probably beer drinking and dropping. People get throwing their waters up in the air, and then some makeshift mosh pits there.
Throwing their waters up in the air. Do you think waters? I like that. I like that, Walt. Your faithfulness in the hydration habits of the MetLife.
Well, it depends on who you talk to, because John and I, we got escorted out. We were like the last person to leave the VIP room, and we're walking out with this gentleman. He was very formal. You could tell he was like one of the head guys. And I just said, "How was your weekend?" Yeah. And he just went, just horrible. People throwing up all over the place, dropping their beers. It was just a disaster.
I was in an elevator going from the catering back down to the dressing rooms, and I guess there were a certain chunk of floors, it becomes communal, right?
Right.
So there was like, oh my God, it was like a carnival of humanity. It was brilliant. People wandering in, some people were arsehole by 6 p.m. and wandering in and just saying the funniest shit. But it was like, wow, this is like the old school. This is kind of like an old school night out. There's not going to be much safety here, which I kind of like. A little dangerous fine.
But yet at the same time, like I marveled at we're there. Like there was that element as well. And it was perfectly fine. I saw little girls with their dads. I saw 3 generations. I talked to a guy, his mom had just gone to the restroom and his son was standing with him. So it had everything. So you had the mayhem, but you also had just true fans enjoying a night with their family and friends. It was cool.
Lars at that one point on night 2, he grabbed a little boy and brought him up and sat him on the tom-tom there, which was so cool.
Right.
Like who was he? I don't know. The kid may not have known what the hell was going on, but he's sitting on Metallica's drum kit. How cool are you?
Yeah.
Steffan, though, one more thing though. You should tell security the picks at the end though, that just creates fucking bedlam. And people were literally beating the shit out of each other to get on the floor to get a pick because they were throwing cups of picks out. So it was like, just icicles all over the place. Crawling on the floor, people stepping on hands. That was dangerous, more dangerous than the beach balls.
So no more picks. That's
I don't want to be the guy responsible for them removing me because then they'll find me. Which, by the way, I did catch a pick on night 2, so I got one, and it was under a girl's shoe, and she was looking at the stage, not knowing. I'm like, just pick your shoe up; it's right here, and I'm gonna get it, but I got it.
That's one thing. And this is something to say for anyone who is listening to this, who goes to shows and might come across me and say, "Do you have a pick?" I genuinely don't carry any of them, because if you carry 10, then you have to carry 200 because you're always leaving someone out. So I actually don't carry any.
You can make some money off them. As we were coming out of the snake pit under the stage, there was guys out there, I'll buy a pick. Gotta buy a pick.
Yeah. Well, I think that sucks.
Can you imagine that? Right.
I think that's just, I mean, look, I think I won't question anybody's circumstances. I'm sure some people really don't have any money, and maybe for them it's a secondary economy and it puts food on the table. But personally, if you have any choice in the matter, you should not be doing that. As a matter of fact, you should be giving them to people that who would love it, who maybe couldn't even afford to go to the show. How about that? How about looking out for some of your friends who can't fucking afford the ticket? That would be cool.
Yep.
We're mindful of your time. We're gonna wrap this up, but we were given 3 passes for each show, one for Walt, one for myself, and we did give the third to each day to fans and people that totally did not expect it.
That's great.
Fantastic.
And so, but you guys, Metallica in general has welcomed Metal Mayhem ROC with open arms, the shows. Walt and I wanted to give something back to you two today in the Metallica family. So, Walt, if you could bring this up.
Wow.
Right
on. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And
we
don't make a lot of money off of this, if any. So
that's brilliant.
We wanted to
so
give
much.
back to what
You're
you
welcome.
guys doing. 'Cause that's the real important thing here.
Well, that's Renee Renee does it all. So
Yeah, I wrote you that note. I wrote you that thank you note. So right on, you guys. Thank you for your
Brilliant.
contribution. We appreciate it.
You're quite
fantastic.
welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And just, I mean, I guess in case anybody is listening and doesn't know, Metal Mayhem has just made a contribution to All Within My
All
Hands,
within my hands.
And
which is brilliant and much appreciated.
And listeners, we'll have links so you yourself can become a member of the All Within My Hands family and help
That's right.
a fellow man. Well,
Yeah, and
parting shots before we let you out of MetLife Stadium and back to East End.
Well, actually, I just had an epiphany. I figured out what the next big thing's going to be for Metallica. Steffan,
What's that?
you guys got to get with Lars.
Yep.
You know the Brendan Byrne Arena, which is on the other side next. It's buried in the shopping mall.
Yes,
It's still there because they
Still
can't
there.
tear it down.
yeah.
That
that's
place, place was there for many of my Metallica teenage year shows. It pains me to see that ugly mall and parking lot around it. I used to drink beer in a parking lot and walk through the cold gates to get to that gate B or gate D. But listen, that place has been used periodically for rehearsal shows. I know Roger Waters rehearsed there a couple of years ago, but I think I see something special. Metallica reopening the dungeons of the Brendan Byrne Arena for some special Jersey-only shows. The
To benefit All Within My Hands.
There we go. The ghosts of Brendan Byrne Arena with the plaster falling down and Metallica opens up. We bring all the Justice stuff that falls down again, and then we close that place for good.
I mean, what is there to add? I mean, I think the two of you have this in hand.
That's right.
I'm just going to sit back. I'll do my tiny bit, and we'll get it in front of Lars. But you two have it in hand.
We can get Adam's going to do all the filmmaking because he does everything.
And yeah. Yeah.
Well, we'll work on our production and we'll email it to Dan Braun. We'll run it by him. So
love it.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, we bring the
idea.
stupid on top of the metal. So
No, I would never hear anyone say that about themselves, especially not you two. That's a great suggestion.
Yeah. Well,
Actually, it's fun.
yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine that?
Right?
Tell them to play the whole Justice album again, front to back. For the last half of the show, they still have to do another 12 songs before it, and then they have to play the whole Justice album.
That sounds like a DVD in the making. That's merchandising right there at the old Brendan Byrne Arena.
There we go. Brilliant.
Love
All
it.
right. Well,
Thanks, you guys.
thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it.
We're
Thank you so
honored
much.
that you had us on your show and keep up
Fuck
the
yeah.
great work with everything that you do. And, we'll keep it tight and bright over it at the Metallica Report. You guys, keep doing what you're doing.
And thank you. And you guys as well. We're going to be listening weekly on you guys. We're fans of you, just vice versa. And
Great. Thank you.
listen,
so much.
we're all one family. So if we have any suggestions or vice versa, we know how to get in touch with each other.
Perfect.
Oh yeah, please do.
Thank
Love
you.
it. Thank
Thank you,
great.
Metal
very
Walt.
much,
Thank you,
guys.
John.
This was
you guys
great,
have a great
guys.
afternoon.
Had a great time.
Thanks,
Thanks.
guys. Totally.
Thanks.
See you later.
See you.
Bye.
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 Metal for life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.